My name is Chris Rhodes, and I am the co-founder of FLAVNT Streetwear.
And then I'm Courtney Rhodes, and I'm the other co-founder of FLAVNT Streetwear.
Because all of our answers are the same because we're twins. So we are originally from San Antonio, born and raised San Antonio, Texas, and then we went to Texas State University, which is kind of between San Antonio and Austin. We both studied graphic design, and then when we graduated, we moved to Brooklyn for a year and a half, and then we moved back to Austin like 2.5 years ago.
So we both are technically graphic designers, and so we both have 9 to 5s as graphic designers here in Austin. And then throughout the lifespan of FLAVNT, we have done FLAVNT on its own and just run the business and like everything that entails. But like at the current time, we both have full-time day jobs on top of it.
And so Courtney works for this big agency here in Austin, and as a studio designer, and worked for Here Media in New York, who's the media company that like runs like Pride.com and Out.com and stuff. So she was like at a super gay design position.
Mm-hmm.
And then I currently work as a designer for I work as a designer for a healthcare marketing agency, and so I make like really terrible ads for like erectile dysfunction. So FLAVNT is fun, and that is terrible.
Well, I'm a lesbian, and I identify as female. So
I'm a trans guy. I identify pretty strongly with being a trans person and not being like, I'm binary presenting, but I'm cool with being known as being trans. Like I'm not like stealth or anything, and I'm queer. I use he, him, and she uses she, her.
Yeah, so Chris is like pretty preppy, and yeah.
Except for this one hat that I wear.
Yeah, he wears hats all the time because his hair determines how good he thinks he looks. So he just wears a hat when he doesn't think he looks good. But he dresses like really nice, put together. I don't know, like if you saw a guy like a guy on the street that was dressed like that, you'd be like, that guy's metro. So maybe you're just like you're a little metrosexual. Like your eyebrows are usually done. He cares what he looks like. It's well groomed.
Pretty basic in terms of colors and patterns.
Brown boots.
Brown boots every day, but different pair of brown boots. I have a lot. And
plain color shirts.
Sweaters and pocket tees and button-ups on the weekend. Shorty shorts. But
preppy.
Preppy, yeah. Mm-hmm. Whereas Courtney takes on every fashion trend I tell her to please not take on, like when overalls are cool or any of those.
I don't rock overalls.
You haven't yet, but you said you would. She has a fanny pack and she wears it unironically. She wears all the patterned shirts.
Yeah.
She's like a stylish grandpa.
Yeah.
You're definitely more ostentatious than me.
Yeah, I definitely like dress like tomboyish. I only really wear men's clothing. But I'm definitely more.
You only wear men's clothing.
I wear sports bras, so I like said only really.
Well, but, men's clothing in quotes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, you don't own anything that's women's clothing.
Technically, men don't generally wear sports bras, but
they can. Yeah, we're 25. 25?
25. Oh, we're twins.
We're identical twins.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that we make is like pretty basic, like neutral colored graphic tees that are generally pretty like subtle, that you could, style any way that you wear your clothes. So like, whereas Chris is more preppy, or if I like want to layer something else over it. But like, if I ever wear a basic t-shirt, it's probably FLAVNT if I'm wearing a graphic tee. I don't really own any other graphic tees.
Yeah, I only really own like our stuff or like other small brands that we like support. But yeah, we make, I mean, FLAVNT was made, which we're probably going to get to at some point, off of like a Pride design I made for myself. So like it all came from a design that I made personally because I wanted it. So we make things we want to wear. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've ever made anything that neither of us wanted to
wear. The bi Pride shirt, but it's because I'm not bi.
I would still wear it.
I would wear it because it's good.
So let's set this. It was 2013 Austin Pride, and we were making shirts for Pride, and I made a shirt that said "Pretty Boy" on it, and it was like a rainbow stencil. And Courtney and I went to school for design, but took a lot of studio art classes and knew how to screen print and whatnot. But these were just shitty spray paint T-shirts that we made the night before, but they looked pretty good. And so I had this shirt that said "Pretty Boy," and at Pride at the parade, I probably had like 100 people come up to me and ask me where I got my shirt, and it was like gay guys and trans guys and lesbians and straight dudes, and it was like every identity across the board, pretty much. Like a few people of each wanted to know where I got it, and we both were kind of like, well, this is like really accessible. We never thought about it because it was just how I always identified. This was back before I transitioned, and I like was always identifying with some term that wasn't like a lesbian. It's like very much like I'm a pretty boy or I'm a stud and that sort of stuff. So um, then I realized like it wasn't just me who identified that way, and so we just kind of both were like, well, we should make that shirt because our friends were like, people would buy that, and so that's how it was born. And then you can explain like flaunt and where that came from.
Yeah, so FLAVNT, you came up with the name
Mhm.
because we were just trying to find something that we liked that sort of conveyed something about pride or something about, something in that sphere. But I had always joked that like if Chris was an animal, he would be a peacock because he's like so pretty and like in your face and like in like the wild, the peacocks, like the boys are the pretty ones and the girls are like the brown ones. So like I was I just have always said that. And so we came up with the idea of like this sort of like peacock mascot idea. And then the idea of like flaunting your pride and like being like really, open and out about that. And then that's where the idea for flaunt came from. And he was the one who just like thought of the word, but then that's.
And then we kind of both decided that a V looked better than a U because of the aesthetic of it, because they're all really angular. And then for like copywriting purposes, it was going to be easier to copyright. That was August 2013, but Flaunt was born in April of 2014. So that was like when we printed up our first shirts. But between that was I would still wear that shirt that I made, and people would continue to ask me on like Instagram where it was from or if I wore it to the gym. So it kind of reinforced this like, oh yeah, people still like the shirt, and like, well, why don't we make it? Like,
and Pride was like during our senior year of college, and so then we graduated in December, and then that's when we were like, should we start this like side project? And then it took a couple months, and we were able to bring it to life, I guess. Well, nowadays it's like go to work 9 to 5, and then come home, and then work until we go to sleep on what needs done during the day. So like today, I came home and I packaged up some stuff that we had started packaging yesterday, and like put some shipping labels on some stuff, and I'm going to order some blank T-shirts later after we get finished this interview because we ran out of some shirts because we stocked just blanks and then we sort of print to order. We found that was like the most sustainable way for us to not have excess stock just like sitting. And then like lately, like my girlfriend, she helps during the day because she's got her days off, so she's been printing for us the past couple of days, and so she printed today, and so we have more stuff to package up. And during the days while we're at work and we have spare time, like on our computers, we'll do social media. Right now, we like shut it off for the last 2 days because we had an influx of orders from Halloween. So these past 2 days have not been as like crazy as they usually are, but some combination of printing, then packaging, and social media, and answering a ton of emails. But I mean, between me and him and my girlfriend, we do all of the things. Is there anything else?
I mean, we haven't in a long time, but some occasionally we'll have like photo shoots and stuff, and that'll be on weekends. So it tends to be like just locally and with any of our friends that we can convince to model for us. So, but yeah, most days is print, package, schedule USPS to come by, and they hate us because they have to come by like once, like every other day, I think. But yeah, pretty hectic. Lots of emails. Well, I would say it's like 99% e-commerce, but we do. That's probably like not statistically but we do the occasional pop-up event. We go to PTHC every single year, which is this big Philly trans health conference. So that's like always on our calendar. But that's the biggest event we do. Besides that, we're pretty good friends with a queer DJ here in Austin, and so they throw a bunch of events, and we'll usually just like throw us a space with a table every once in a while. So we'll end up just kind of sporadically doing events at bars that they're DJing. But I'd say that's maybe like once every other month-ish.
Yeah.
And we don't get a ton of like traffic or sales from doing that, but it's like an excuse to go to a gay bar and like network a little bit. But mostly online. We were in
I think technically,
well, we were on Nylon Shop for a while. They had 2 of our designs.
I think we still are, maybe.
We haven't had a sale from them in a while, so I think we probably got on it. We should probably check that. But they reached out to us, and one of their fashion interns or something follows me on Tumblr, and so she was like, "Hey, I pitched you, and they like your stuff." So we had like a tote bag, and our gender roles are dead cut off on that, which is pretty cool because Nylon's like a real magazine. And then we were in a small boutique in like upstate New York. They carried some of our binders for a little bit. We're not currently in theirs because they sold out of all of them, and we're out of stock right now. But that's it for like in-store type stuff. Yeah.
So it started out as t-shirts, and we mostly have t-shirts, but we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, some accessories. We have hats and beanies, stickers, buttons, koozies, binders, socks. So we do print like 80% of our own stuff, but then we also use like a drop shipping partner that we do some of like our less popular designs or our multicolor designs or things like we have phone cases and like socks. And it's so like this third party thing where we just like put the designs in and they make them, and obviously like the profit margin is a lot smaller, but we're able to do like sort of like one-offs of these particular items that we can't necessarily stock. So yeah, those are all the products that we have. It's like mainly just t-shirts and sweatshirts, but there are like phone cases and random things like that.
We have them manufactured by a small team in Plano, which is near Dallas. And that team it's pretty small, but it's a all-female team, and it's led by a woman of color, which is really important to us, and it's nearby. We may not always stick with them because of their production means, but when we first started making these binders, it was really important that we could visit them regularly to make sure that it functioned correctly, because a lot of people don't know what a binder is or have never seen a binder or aren't in the community. So
and we didn't want to outsource was like our number one thing. So if we ever do switch manufacturers, it would be another like domestic manufacturer, just with someone with more capability than what this team has. But yeah, we did like do the whole like ideation process, and my mom created the first prototype, and we went through the prototyping with this team and like helped design it like from the ground up, but we don't physically sew them ourselves.
It took like so much longer than
way longer than we expected it to. She's just like a craftsy lady. She just is generally good at like doing stuff, so like she can like tile a house and build furniture and sew binders. I don't know, she just can do all the things.
Yeah, she just made the mistake of one time showing us that she was really capable of sewing, and so when we had this idea, we were like, well, you're making it.
Yep.
She made a good enough one for us to make our like Kickstarter video, like so we had something to like
show people. Yeah.
For our binders, our price point is a little bit higher than most of the people on the market, but that's because of some of the reasons we said. It's a small team, it's not outsourced, and some of the fabrics that we source are like high performance fabrics. And then also we do get 15% of every sale. So from a binder that's like $7, so that we're about like $15 below like the most popular binder on the market, and about like $8 or something more than Underworks, I think. So considering we give like $7 to every like 4 partnerships, it's not too high off, and we hope eventually if we can do like more bulk, like larger inventories, and with a larger team, we could eventually bring that down a little bit to make it a little bit more affordable. But so our binders are at like our $50 and US dollars, and then our clothes I think are a lot more affordable. We tend to
Yeah, our t-shirts are like between 25 and $32. So it's like depending. So like a standard t-shirt, like single print front is $25, and then our most expensive t-shirt is our bleach splattered shirt, which is 32 because it requires us to like literally hand bleach every single one, hand wash them, then print it. So it's like takes double the time. Um, so yeah, I mean, we tried to keep everything pretty like sustainable, like what you would pay like for a shirt at the mall. And I mean, even like our binders, like I used to work at Nike, like sports bras run $50. So like we tried to keep everything within like general, like go to the mall, you pick up a shirt or something for that amount. And then, obviously like what we could make a little bit of a profit on, and also continue to make that 15% donation. But I think that our prices are really pretty reasonable because generally when we're included in we the thing that we're most often included on for like when people write is like ungendered clothing. So we'll be included in lists with other brands, and a lot of times those are like high fashion or like couture, and it's not really accessible. And we're definitely always the lowest price point items that are on those lists. So I mean, I think for the quality of like the shirts that we use, because we also have like upgraded. When we first started, we were like a Gildan brand T-shirt, and now we're on like next level apparel, which is like American apparel, but like we like it. It's like a nice soft T-shirt, and we try to source stuff that is a little bit like above what I mean, like
It's not like bare minimum. It's not the cheapest shirt you can get. It's a good fit, and then also everything or 80% of stuff is hand printed by like two queer people. So like it's all like keeping it in the family. So I think that it's a good price point and usually pretty accessible.
mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some people that wish things were like a little bit cheaper, but like that's what sales are for.
Well, I mean, because there's the people. I mean, there's always the argument of people who are like, well, you're catering to like the LGBT community or the trans community, and they don't have money. So like, how can you charge that much? But then I'm like, but we are the LGBT community, trans community, so then we can't make money. So like, it's a double-edged sword of like, so you're telling trans people like they shouldn't make money because because trans people can't. Like, I don't know. Like, I think LGBT people deserve to be able to make money from the stuff that they do just as much as like like I said, like Nike. So I think we charge what we have to charge to pay our rent and pay our partners.
Well, this is two of our binders. This is our sand and then the copper color. I'm just gonna hold up one of them, but just to show you the colors. We have four, but we're out of stock right now, and this is just what we had on hand. So this is the second color that we have. It's the sand. When we were naming these, it was really important that we didn't use food names for colors because there's a whole dialogue about how like that is just always used for people of color, and it's just like wrong, and we really wanted to avoid that. So we chose like more like it's rose, sand, copper, and umber. So
it was
like
based on minerals.
Yeah, so we were trying to stray away from that because everybody's always like mocha and caramel and that, and so that was just an aside, but like a conscious effort to like not make like, people aren't consumables, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but so this is one of our binders. We talked a little bit about my mom made the first one, but this was made to change the things that I didn't like about binders that were on the market. So I like to wear tank tops. I'm in Texas. It's hot as hell. I like my shoulders and have lots of tattoos. So I wanted skinnier straps. That was the biggest thing I wanted. And I wanted a racer back for comfort, and also because I'm a terrible person and I used to bind when I exercised. So you're not supposed to. But
so there's more range of motion. And then also like if you were going to wear it to like be shirtless and like out in the sun, it's like less of your skin covered by the garment, so you would have a better tan line, because obviously like a tank top tan line is really horrible, and a lot of binders leave you with a really blocky like tank top tan line that's like really high. And so like the initial idea for this binder came from just me. It was
actually her idea.
It was me seeing Chris like in the summer struggling to find something like what can you wear, because generally binders are like really constricting and really hot. They have like high necklines. They're just like not very comfortable, and there's obviously like something that you're wearing that people aren't really familiar with. And so I just had the thought, why don't they exist like in skin colors? Like, why is this not a thing?
Which at the time that we launched this idea, this didn't exist.
Yeah, we were the first people to put that idea out there in multiple skin colors, and so we thought it was a good idea. And then I think it is, and so then we did our Kickstarter, and obviously once that idea was on the market, another binder company took it. But that's the nature of commercialism, I guess. But yeah, so we created this with the improvements to what was on the market to try to make a better product, because I mean that's the only way we're gonna thrive as a small business. We obviously like can't compete price wise, and we can't compete inventory wise. So we wanted to make a better product, and so we did, and we're still improving. The binders have only been on the market for a year.
Turned a year old on Halloween.
Yeah. So we're having conversations with our manufacturer about sourcing a different like inside liner, about getting a fifth color. We want a fifth color between our two darks, and then eventually between our two middle shades, and then also we want to do 2X, because we are only up through a XL right now, just because we weren't able to afford the prototyping for plus sizes. But we're hoping for our next launch of binders in 2018 to have a 2X. So I mean, those are all the things that went into the binder. It's a ton of stuff. Like when we had the idea for it and when we did the Kickstarter, we were like, I don't know, you just like think like you can Google like manufacture something and there will be an answer, but like there isn't. And it took us forever to find the manufacturer, and took us forever to figure out like what it's going to go into it. And then we seriously like underbid what it was going to cost us to finance that. So like our Kickstarter goal was $25,000, and we spent more, just above and beyond that, just for like the initial run, like prototyping everything.
Well, we raised 26, so we went over our goal slightly. We had 700 backers, which was really good. Kind of like beta testing, like what is the word I'm thinking of? Like when you survey people, like it was a good 700 people think this is a good idea. So that was cool, because it kind of got us to like test the market before making it, and
see what the demand, if there was a demand.
Yeah, and like to this day, well, as of when that happened, I haven't double checked back on Kickstarter, but we were the second most funded trans related Kickstarter at the time of our Kickstarter. Don't quote me on that's still true, because that was a year ago, but the only one that was more than that was that like My Trans Health app, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really cool. We got a lot of support behind it and got good media exposure and stuff. And we've gotten pretty good. I mean, I would say like 85% positive reactions to the binder. A lot of people like a lot of things about it. The most things that people don't like is that we don't have as many sizes as some of the other companies on the market, which, one, we couldn't afford right off the bat, and two, we wanted to make sure that our extra small to extra large were good before we expanded to like people that need things to bind a little bit better.
And also, technically, our binder runs larger than other companies on the market, so our extra large is more like a 2X compared to everybody else's. But that just happened.
But yeah, so we have plans to do that, and then like our inner liner is like a performance fabric. People don't like the noise that it makes. It's pretty similar kind of to like a board short, because it's water friendly, and so that's one of the things that we're looking to switch out, because it functions really well. It's cost efficient, and like it's water friendly, flattens, it's cost efficient, but people don't really necessarily like the feel of it sometimes.
Well, because it was created initially as a swim product, as like you wear it in the summer as a performance product, but then people want it as a day-to-day binder, and so it wasn't initially created with that in mind. And so now we're having to evolve it and adapt it and try to find something that is also water friendly and semi-safe. I mean, binding while swimming is not necessarily safe,
because that fabric doesn't like really,
it doesn't constrict. It's not like cotton where it like will seize up on you, so that's our problem, is we could switch to a cotton, but then you compromise,
you get some shrinkage
on it's going to shrink on you.
So that's where that's at right now. We're waiting on a current restock on that. It's like the supply and demand for that is really great. Like there's worse problems to have than them constantly flying off the shelves, and we kind of end up inadvertently creating like a demand we can't keep up with because we can't produce that much. So it's kind of good, because we like sell out within like 24 hours every time we relaunch them, but we every time stock a little bit more. So we like turn around all the funds and then stock like 1.5 times what we stocked last time. So hopefully eventually we'll be able to keep them on the shelf for maybe like a week. But I mean, we have like assorted sizes, like extra smalls left, but like the mediums of like the lightest color go like so fast, and we stock like 3 times as many of those as anything else. It's like
Yeah,
a lot of medium-sized white
figuring
people.
out sizing, I guess is like there's probably a formula for that, but like also like as much as you think that there would be a formula for it, it's
I don't know. You study fashion. Is there a way to know that trend? Because we're like, oh, last time we sold out of medium, so this time we'll stop. You know,
yeah,
like that.
we try to like keep an eye on like our own trends and like what happens and like what we sell, but it's like it seems like one time there's a ton of mediums and the next time it's like everybody's an extra small and
This is a pretty boy. So this is our probably most popular shirt.
yeah.
This is not the one that, I mean, it is based off of the one that I originally made, but we had a Pride Pretty Boy Pretty Boy design that was like based off of this one, or that was based off my original one. But anyway, so this is like our bread and butter. This will never not be in stock. This will never not be available. Probably won't ever be on anything but this variation, just because everybody wants that one. Like we put it on a black sweatshirt and stuff, but like we don't even want to put it on like a different color because it's not broken, so we're not fixing it. So, and this font is actually Courtney made our font. It's actually our own font. So, and then this is like one of our latest designs. This is our splatter hoodie. Sorry, I'm like close to you. On the front, it's a different logo variant, but on the back is our latest trans equality design. It says, trans people deserve acceptance, love, safety, equality, rights, everything. So just like all around, like trans people deserve things. So we originally made this. We made this design the day of the trans military ban because at the time we were partnered with our friend Spencer, and Spencer is an Air Force veteran, and we wanted to make a shirt that like was a direct response to all that. And we had been toying around with like a trans people deserve sort of design for a while, and that was just like the day that we finally were like, that's what we want to make.
Yeah.
So that's what spurred that one. And then the splatter tee, the gender roles one, does really well, and so we were like, let's splatter a sweatshirt because people like it. And also then Courtney went to H&M the other day, and there's so many splattered things, and she was like, we are so on trend right now.
And we have like a t-shirt that's gender roles are dead that is also like that. So yeah, sometimes people are like, well, where's my order? And those end up getting backlogged sometimes because it can't be raining because you have to do it outside. And then also it like sort of has to be nice weather because like the sun being out influences like how much the bleach activates. So they look different all the time, but like we need them to look bleached, you know? And then it's like, well, do we do this? Is it a laundry day? Like, is the washer even open? Like, there's all of these things that factor in. But yeah, that's the one.
That one was actually the splatter original one. The gender roles one was a happy accident because when we lived in New York, we didn't print our own shirts because we were in an apartment, and our printer actually put the wrong gender roles design on a black tee, and it's supposed to usually be like our tombstone one, and he put our skull one that was like only a sweatshirt, and we didn't want 2 black shirts to compete, so I was like, let's just splatter this one to make it different. And then that's probably like our second most popular design. It was like a happy accident.
I mean, we kind of try to like pay, I guess, a little bit of attention to like what colors are trending. Like, so like right now, like rust is like really trendy, like this like rust orange. And so I was talking to Chris the other day. I was like, if we bring in another shirt color, like that would be interesting. We try to keep our stuff pretty neutral. Like every once in a while, like during the summer, like around Pride, we'll do like some brighter tanks and stuff. But in general, we try not to be like overtly rainbow, just because that is like what happens with a lot of like LGBT brands, and like people just like neutrals. Like our black shirts sell the best. So we want to sort of have like a cohesive like look and feel. Like if you look at our lookbook, that it doesn't feel all over the place. So like I would say that's like the most that we pay attention to, like trends. Besides that,
attention to like popular culture. That was like the birth of Gal Pal was because of the Kristen Stewart like media calling her girlfriend her Gal Pal, and so
yeah. So I was like, I want a Gal Pal shirt, and we had the first Gal Pal shirt. Autostraddle will tell you they have the first Gal Pal shirt. They actually walked up to me and told me that to my face, but they're liars. We had ours like 4 months before they did, but
it was a really awkward like premiere thing we were at in New York City. And this girl came up, she was like, I'm sorry, who are you? And she was like, I'm from Autostraddle, and you stole our shirt. And then Courtney went back on our Instagram and screenshot like the different dates and was like, should I email her boss? I was like, let's just let it go. Like,
Yeah, so we try to like look at popular culture a little bit for stuff like that, and then just generally, most of our style of our stuff, like if anything's like illustrative, like this shirt, like this is just something that I drew, and it tends to be like sort of tattoo designy, just because me and Chris are interested in tattoos and tattoo culture, and just that is something that we both draw like that. So it lends itself well to like the streetwear aesthetic, if that is what we are. But besides that, I don't know that we really, I don't know.
that's I mean, like trends and like this year hoodies were more popular than crew necks, so we went to a hoodie because crew necks weren't as popular this year. Like a little bit when we source things, but
And just because I want to mix it up, because I'm like, for 2 years we've done Gender Roles Are Dead crew neck sweatshirts, and I already have that, so I kind of wanted some hoodies this year.
it's not because we shouldn't. And there's probably like inadvertent influences, but not really anything for anyone that I feel like we emulate.
No, I mean, I follow like a million tattoo artists on Instagram, and I can't even like tell you who they all are, but that is definitely like the number one like design influence in my life, and like on my social media would just be all the tattoo artists. But besides that, I wouldn't say like there's anyone, especially not fashion wise, that we really like look at. But I mean, we are making basics, and we are making graphic tees, so we're not even like fashion in my head. People like us, millennial LGBTQ people who care about giving back.
Usually,
Usually,
pretty young is our biggest thing.
I'd say the demographic, like on our site, it says it's like 75% women, age 25, like between 18 and 25. But that's skewed because we have a lot of trans men. So I think that like Google Analytics says that. So I would say it's like primarily trans men, and then lesbians would be our two biggest demographics, because he's a trans dude and I'm a lesbian, and we run it. And so like his personal following and like my personal following definitely influence like who follows the brand. But yeah, I'd say it's a lot of millennials, it's a lot of queer people. I mean, there's a shocking amount of non-queer people, I feel like, who also like are just like sort of like with it, and they're like, I wear that shirt? And I'm like, yeah, you can wear that shirt. Like that's definitely cool.
Yeah, mostly young though. We rarely get like older customers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes kids buying for their parents, which is cute. But
Yeah.
we should make up a fake.
Yesterday it was like circulating on like everything, like these two women in this like tech industry or something, and they made like a third person like named Keith Mann, who did all of their outreach, because whenever they would ask for help on stuff, or they would like try to get quotes or like vendors or whatever, people would give them a lot of pushback, and so then they made a dude who would just handle all of it, and nobody gave him any pushback. And I told Chris we should make a customer service person who's just like not me or him, so that we just blame that person or something goes wrong. But no, it's always me or Chris.
I have two different answers. I'm most proud of our Kickstarter, because that was the most stressful 30 days of my whole life, and that was an idea that we had and wasn't out there, and from sketches to finally making it to getting hundreds of people to like it and get it funded and getting in like Refinery 29 and BuzzFeed and all these things, it was like really validating and really, really cool. And unfortunately, we finally produced it like 3 months before I had top surgery. But like when I got to wear that binder, I was like, this is like all the things that I wanted it to be. It was like better than the other binders I've ever worn. And like that I was really, really proud of. And I'm proud of when we get to give that binder to other people and they're like, this gives me confidence and that sort of stuff, which kind of ties into my other answer, which is maybe not like what I'm most proud of, but like why I do this is like the kids that reach out to us and say like, your pretty boy shirt gave me the confidence to like come out to my parents, and like we get like really, really cute messages like that, and like so that's really, really validating.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think just the fact that we're like still here and we're still growing is really cool. Every time we sell to like a new country, I think that's really cool. I'm like, oh, Italy, like that's cool. Like just to think that like people somewhere are wearing like a drawing that I did one day. I was like, let's make a sure this is gender roles are dead, Chris, like or something like that. Like trying to come up with something like really like clever and like just like really out there and just like sketching something up and he was like, no, like that's good. That right there, put that on a shirt and then people like it and then they're wearing it. Like that's cool. So I'm like proud that we like were able to pay our bills creatively and do our own thing and call like ourselves our bosses. But yeah, I think that's cool at 23. We were, but this past summer we had two cats that got really sick, and they actually both we had to put them down. But we spent like $8,000 between the two of them, and we just realized like as like small business owners, we just didn't have a safety net. We just didn't have a savings account, you know, because whenever we did have savings, we just put it all back in to the company because like you always need something else. We could always grow and do something, and I mean, there's just like certain things um, like Chris is like proposing to his girlfriend this weekend. Like he wouldn't be able to do that without us having a 9 to 5. Like FLAVNT wouldn't be able to like.
FLAVNT can pay the bills, but FLAVNT doesn't pay the bills and like pay for trips or jewelry or vet bills or.
And we don't.
It could, but it's like.
And we didn't want to ever have to compromise like that, like being able to fund our partnerships because when our cats did get sick this summer, we were partnered with our friend Spencer, and like there was a point where they refused to take our money because they knew that we just didn't have it, and luckily we were partnered with one of our friends, and unfortunately they were having some financial or some health problems, and so they weren't able to get top surgery when it was scheduled anyway, so it got postponed, so it sort of all worked out. But it just kind of put us in this bad boat that we were like, we don't want someone to be counting on us and then we not be able to hold up that end of the bargain. So I mean, it sucks. I definitely prefer to like get up and do my own thing and not have to put FLAVNT like on a back burner and at midnight, you know. But right now, like we have bills to pay and health insurance and things like that, you know.
How harsh the queer community is on itself. But I think that that's most everybody. People want to see you fail.
That's just the internet. It's just, yeah.
I think people wanting to see you fail is like, I mean, for every one person that wants to see us fail, 9 people want to see us succeed. But like, still, like the surprising, like
the amount of people who just be like, "That's a shitty design," or like, "That's you ripped that off for like no reason," or like just like stuff like I'm like everybody just has an opinion or a comment, and it's just. I mean, I think as people who have like worked hard or who have created or who have put anything into something like this, I would never do that or try to tear down anybody who's trying to, you know, do their own thing or make something cool or, you know, give back. But there are people who just like thrive on that, and that's just the age that we live in. So I guess that to me is the most surprising part, because you would think that people would just be like, yeah.
"Oh, finally, queer people selling me shirts instead of Target," you know. But like, people will be like, comment on our Instagram, "Why don't you just go to Target instead of this?" I'm like, cool, like just go home.
No, I mean, I just think people like reinforcing that like our products either allow them to be visible or like to be more proud or you know to own whatever identity that they have, because we try to have products that cater to as many you know different identities as there are. I mean, you would never be able to have a shirt for every single person, but you know something that a bunch of different types of people could wear and feel proud and confident in. And so seeing people just say that that did happen or that did work.
Or yeah, just the like in the dialogue that they spark, we like will get a lot of like interaction on social media, like people posting in a shirt saying like, "I was wearing my gender roles are dead shirt, and so it led to this old woman came up to me and asked me what it meant, and then we had this whole conversation about gender." Like, you know, just the fact that like something on a shirt that one of us drew or wrote or whatever,
just
like
creating awareness. Yeah.
So like that, I guess that wasn't really like feedback, but I guess kind of like it creates a dialogue. So I guess that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just say like those like what I said earlier about like people saying like that our community just doesn't have like the means, but then also like the sort of the takeaway from, you know, us as queer people trying to, you know, make a profit and have like the right to make a profit, I think is important. and then just the general like shittiness of social media allowing people to just say whatever they want to say without anything. But I mean, in general, I don't think that we get a lot of negative feedback.
No, I mean, like, I would say I've worked in a dozen retail places, and like less than I would get on the floor at an American Eagle. So like every once in a while you get people who are not happy, but
Yeah.
you'll get that at any outlet mall. So mostly, like I said, I think for every 9 people, even probably more than that, every 20 people we have who are like super thrilled with something, we'll have like one. And usually that can be like fixed with a 15% off your next order because they just really want attention or to feel cared about or like we're real people.
Like Kickstarter was just for the binders, so like everything else for our company was like we started with like $500 from me and Chris's savings account. So everything besides that has been funded either through the business itself or through side jobs, working full time. The Kickstarter did fund the initial production of the binders, but I said that in the future, if we ever have like an idea for another product, I would want us to either source a small business loan or some sort of investor, because Kickstarter just wasn't it's not the best way, in my opinion, to fundraise, just because people don't understand timelines for things, and it creates a lot of just like negativity based on backers and how much like when they think things should be finished, and like a lot of stuff like that, and then all the money that goes into what you owe Kickstarter, and the money that you owe for all of the incentives for people to donate, and there's just all these things. So it's like money with a lot of strings attached, whereas I feel like a loan, like the strings that are attached, or an investor, the strings that are attached from the very beginning. So yeah, since that Kickstarter, we haven't looked into any other funding or crowdfunding because we haven't needed to. But in the future, maybe some other avenue, but not a crowdsourced funding in the future, I think.
So it's 15% of our profits for our first 2 partners. It was we did 15% of everything, and then we realized after the fact
like just of revenue.
Yeah, but then we were like, oh yeah, the cost of shirts goes into that because we're creative and we're both. I mean, like I'm not dumb, but I'm not a business person. And then we were like, oh, it should be a profit. So it's 15% of profits. And originally for our first like 2 partnerships, it was like for every person that like used a code, like support Caden or whatever, so it would like encourage our partners to be active. But then, I mean, we still want them to be active, but then we were just like, well, we'll just do 15% of every sale. And
just so it was too hard to keep track of.
Yeah, and also it was like, good to give just all of it, and that's like our thing. But we both are just kind of like socially conscious people, like try to like buy from brands that are like aware and try to like donate when we have extra money to like the animal shelter or like like an organization that we care about or whatever. So we were like, we should have something that like we wanted to find a way to give back. And then when we made FLAVNT, we were like, oh, like FLAVNT could give back. And then we liked the idea of doing like an individual partnership, and we actually were one of the first, or maybe the first, that did like an individual partner. Whereas like some brands that are queer will do like, oh, at the end of the year we have like
a scholarship
that like has come from all these things. But we liked this like the whole community getting behind one person, because like a lot of trans people don't have support. So we liked like,
and it came just from seeing like people's like fundraisers circulating, and just being like, that's a huge number, but maybe not a huge number. Like if a bunch of people, can help, and then it'll like get taken care of a lot faster.
Yeah. So when we fundraise, our fundraiser is open to anybody over the age of 18, just because we don't want to deal with liability of parents, even with parental consent. That's just a lot of things not worth dealing with. And it's open to anybody in the world, but we've only done partnerships with people in the States so far. We've had a few people apply outside of the States, but
like
just
in Canada.
Yeah. Because we have a pretty big customer base in the UK and Australia and Canada. We've sold like all over, but those are pretty big compared to here too. But it's open to anybody, however they identify, as long as they're seeking a gender confirming surgery. And we're willing to raise up to half of what they need, like, total. So like my surgery was 6,000, so like it would raise up to 3,000 for me or something. Just because that kind of keeps it sort of fair, even though surgeries are all different prices and amounts and whatnot. But like, and it kind of keeps our things tend to be about 3 to 6 months, depending. We've done 2 crash fundraisers that were both a month long, but so about 6 months or 3 to 6 months that people get to be behind somebody. We're on our 9th partnership, and we're finally with a trans feminine person, which was really, really cool because we have a really big trans guy follower just because of who follows me, and so it was kind of hard to just like reach a different demographic.
Yeah, for the first 8 partnerships, we didn't have
not a single trans feminine applicant.
Women applied.
Yeah,
and that's like in hundreds of applicants. Like every single time, like 30 to 50 applicants. So.
Yeah, and we do have like women that buy from us and probably trans women that buy from us, but not necessarily that like either partially maybe they didn't feel like comfortable reaching out because all of our fundraisers have been like with men, with trans men and whatnot. So, but of those 9, or of the 8 with trans men, 7 were for top surgery and 1 was for bottom surgery, which was really cool because it kind of like shed light on something that like not a lot of people talk about. And then the most recent one is with Blair, who I've known online for a while, but I've only met like twice in real life. But happened to run into her at Philly Trans Health this year, and we had just wrapped up with Spencer, and I mentioned that we were going to be fundraising, and she mentioned that she wanted to apply, and it happened to like stars align, and finally we got to like make it apparent that this is not a boys club. So that's going really well so far. But yeah, so mostly it was just our wanting to do something that set ourselves apart when we started.
Also knowing that like our generation just tends to be pretty, socially conscious and like aware, and people like to know that like where their money's going and that it does go towards something.
Like there's a reason.
I mean, that's why Tom's was so successful. I mean, it's not that they had like really good looking shoes. It was because people loved that idea, and then since then there's been so many, philanthropic companies that have done well. And so we like the idea of that. And yeah, we were probably the first to do it. And I mean, maybe one of the coolest things that's come up from us being around is that since then there's probably, I could name off the top of my head like 10 to 15 other small businesses that partner
to have a similar model to ours
that have copied our model, which is really cool because we can only partner with one person at a time. So that means that all the more people that are getting help. So
yeah, we definitely don't view that as copying or like, please do it. Because there's
if you want
kids out there that need
if
help.
Other people want to give up profits, that is a good thing too. I just want to want it to be known that like we our dog's gonna probably bark because I think that his girlfriend's coming home. That we like started out because we wanted to be representative of the community and encourage pride and confidence, and then we created a binder because we saw a need for something, and we started these fundraisers because we saw a need for something, and that we're just going to continue to try to give back and improve our community because we're a part of it, and that's important to us. And that's really cool at the end of the day with FLAVNT, is to continue to grow and like to be able to sustain ourselves, but I would like to be able to make an impact on helping as many people as possible.
And I want to eventually have a big old gay store in Austin, Texas. Which it really wouldn't be that out of place in Austin, but in Texas would be cool just because, Republican. So, but that would be cool. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, we just made things because I didn't see a lot of queer people or queer clothing when I was growing up. There wasn't a lot of trans visibility, period, but like I didn't know I was trans until I was like 22. And the world is a very different place now with media representation, and we love that people can see people that look like them on our site and our lookbook, and that we have models that are all from the community. And every project we do, we have queer photographers, or our team is like all female, or all this stuff. So I just think that being a business that is like made up of people that are similar to the customer base is really important, and I hope that we continue to grow so that we can like we're already decently well known, but like it'd be cool to be like more of a household name and like queer people to like know like, oh, like that's my brand, like not mine, but like your brand, like you know what I mean? Does that make sense? You're gonna like transcribe that and be like my brand.